time you're like, I mean, I love all these players and how they interpret these characters, but let's see something other than these two top tiers. Well, you're getting your wish. And let's start out with a little bit of Dark Pit versus ZSS as we go to Pokemon Stadium for game number 1. Never a dull moment here at Fusion.
Sir, especially as we load up Bashi and Dylan for Pokemon Stadium 2. And I feel like once again we have a matchup ahead of us where Zero Suit's movement can lead to the better for her if she's able to make something of it. Aerial Denial tends to be the game for Dark Pit if it's not going to be an intensive combo game. And we've already seen that Bashi's able to turn heavy reversals. So even the early kill potential of Zero Suit doesn't assure a strong, quick victory for Dylan.
Yeah, trying to play out from the ledge, though.
That's something that I think is going to be pretty worrying, because a lot of the strengths that we saw the last time Bashi was on stream was how well they could push out from center stage. Between, you know, pretty extensive combos, a lot of really strong edge guarding, that doesn't really work in reverse. You can't really push into zone if you don't have any type of grounding beneath you, and Zero Suit does a great job of denying that type of space. Dylan takes a pretty quick lead, but I feel like if Bashi's not able to take back center stage and make something out of it, this is going to stay Dylan's lead.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for Dylan to approach all that much. I mean, what do they get out of it? You get some potential Twitter clips at the risk of losing your lead to the Blades of Pit. Well, guess what? Anytime you want to approach me, that's fine. I have this Paralyzer gun ready and waiting, and I am more than willing to pull the trigger if you are so willing to get into my space. Looking for that, looking for the shot right below, and yep, you're going to catch the recovery with the Nair, and that is just a preview of what happens if Dylan tries to approach Bashi on stage, I could only imagine.
Damage already builds up here. This is Dylan getting to lose at this point. Even though it's only on the second stock, this is following a very similar rhythm to what we saw in the first stocks. So to see how well Bashi can try to turn this around is going to be very interesting. Especially because it seems like Dylan has a really good sense of how to DI and SDI a lot of these hits out. So we're not even getting to see a lot of hits connect for these combos against Dylan. Connecting another boost. This is looking really good for Zero Suit right now.
Yeah, Bashi just having a tough time figuring this out, and maybe one of the holes in Bashi's Wi-Fi game plan being exposed here by this well-practiced ZSS of Dylan. Always been one of those sleeper picks in Fusion and DNA brackets of months past, hasn't he, Hangman? Has always been one of those quiet, relatively quiet, consistent forces in New Jersey. That doesn't seem to get talked about nearly enough, just because New Jersey is so ridiculously deep in terms of talent that some of these names like Dylan often get overlooked. But when it comes to these brackets, Dylan might be saying, no more, you're going to recognize me, and I will be celebrated, whether you like it or not.
Another thing that needs to be brought into a factor of discussion is how different Dylan's Zero Suit is compared to ones that we typically see. I know we've seen WebJP and Sensei's Pocket Zero Suits, and with Sensei's much more practiced and prevalent, I feel, neither of those Zero Suits really compare to Dylan as far as style is concerned. Very controlled, very accurate, very lethal. Dylan takes game 1 without really looking like they got shaken up at all.
It's kind of strange when you're talking about Dylan, right? I mean, obviously you have the super aggressive Zero Suits that we've come to know and love on the national stage, and then you have the very defensive, very, I mean, almost circle campy Zero Suits that we've come to know and maybe not love on Wi-Fi. And then you're just talking about Dylan, who's again, very consistent, never kind of rides that middle ground between the two, and yet somehow makes the character their own. And it's definitely something to be respected and, dare I say, even commended. And when it bears results like this, Hangman, who can really argue with it?
Indeed. always posited that Zero Suit's one of the strongest characters in this game because she can be so aggressive, but that speed lends itself very naturally to a defensive style of play. And of course, being able to switch it on a dime is very dangerous.
Obviously, I mean, this is a Ferrari. You know, you need to, obviously you have the speed with which to do anything you want, but you also have to have the skill and technical ability in order to handle it, in order to corner with it, in order to truly master it. And Dylan, gotta say, looking like one heck of a driver right now as we go back to Stadium for game number 2. Bashi looking to make this a little bit more of an even matchup, and thus far succeeding, but this can get away from him very quickly and become a repeat of game number 1 if they come in with those trepidous approaches.
We haven't seen any type of like full distance arrow zoning from Bashi. Like, just take a complete opposite approach. That way Dylan is forced to come in, because while Zero Suit can deny an approach from a mid-range very effectively, what with the Paralyzer Bolt and then also Short Hop Zair, which we've seen a lot of from Dylan so far, and even Side B, none of that's really doing anything from a long range. Meanwhile, Pit's able to very safely control space with the arrows. They're not the fastest of projectiles and not particularly strong, but they could still be annoying and force an approach.
We are continuing on, and it's been a pretty consistent stream of offense from Dylan as they are going to take stock number 1 off of Bashi, who is still looking for answers on how to gain control of this matchup. Looks to be well in the control of Dylan right now, but if Bashi can indeed, if Bashi has some agency in the flow of this matchup, where do you see it coming from?
I think it's a matter of just trying to take control of the stage and play things as patiently as possible, because you're not outspeeding Zero Suit, and when the combo game isn't as reliable, you're not out damaging her either. Look at this amazing DI is keeping Bashi alive, but for how long?
He's reading Bashi's mind. I don't know what, like, every time Bashi thinks he's safe, Dylan just pops up, teleports in. It's the, what else is there for Bashi to do? Dylan is up in his face and is going to lose that stock, trying to get a little too fancy, but then again, when you're playing like Dylan is, you're afforded that luxury.
I suppose, but Bashi's not one of those players who needs a handout when it comes to trying to get themselves back into the game. And
yeah,
I really don't want to see this backfire so spectacularly on Dylan, but he's already eating plenty of damage. He's going to have to still close out the stock on Bashi Swift if he doesn't want to try to regret the YOLO Dare.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, the YOLO Dare is something that I think connects every ZSS main in some fashion or another, so can't necessarily deny the respect for the attempt. At the same time, you can definitely question the wisdom. Bashi looking to garner just a little bit of momentum off of that mistake, looking for the grab. That may well be a look at the game plan going in later. However, the burial into the boost kick off of the corner, and Dylan moving on by a score of 2-0. Scared you for just a second, didn't he?
Bashi tried to position himself to